Hello, hello. I am your host, Chantel Dutel, and welcome back to my channel. I do have a new name now. It's That's for Girls. But anyway, let's get into this. I am doing a DIY bedroom for Ruby Anderson from Rainbow High. So first up, I have a mood board. I was inspired. Ruby is a graphic design major. Her style is a little bit more edgy. It's still, girly street. And I took some inspiration from like a large mirror from Restoration Hardware. And then I thought of like Las Vegas, Hard Rock, things like that. And then just a simple color blocking wall. I thought it'd be fun to include all that and keep it simple without having to, because I don't want to work on this for endless amounts of time. Here's the dimensions of the structure. I leave it pretty large just because I don't want to have to deal with cutting, and I double up the foam board. And you'll see when I'm making the bed portion, at first I was making it pretty high. I started with 4 inches, and once I was getting it all done, I'm like, this is kind of looking like a cake or a hat box. So once I had it all glued together, I went ahead and hacked another inch off, so it ends up being 3 inches tall, because once you put on the bedding and the linens, it gets taller. And I was able to save it. So basically I just wrapped it with the foam for a reinforcement, and hot glue. I used a larger glue gun. It really helps with keeping things together, and also be very careful because I burn myself a lot. And then this is a strip of the foam board. I got all this foam board from the Dollar Tree. I'm doing all this on a budget, and wrap it around the bottom. So this is the headboard. For the headboard, I was really inspired by Ruby's shoes with the flames. So I went ahead and, cut the shape, or you can use the X-Acto. I did a combination of both. And then just cut out the shape. This probably ends up being about 6-7 inches tall, with the flames being shorter. And I just paint it black. And for the red portion, paint the red first and let it dry, and then go back in with the yellow, because it'll be a lot easier and you won't have, red bleeding into the yellow. Here it is put together. And let's move on to making the little mattress. Here I have felt, and I went ahead and used the circles that I cut out from the foam board as stencils. So here I am checking. It ends up being about a 9.5, 10-inch diameter. Just because, let me get onto this and I'll talk about it later. I tried sewing. I don't have a sewing machine. It takes a lot longer to sew this all together. So in the matter of, trying to be conscious of time, you take this fabric glue and you glue it all around the perimeter. And make sure that you leave an area open whenever you're doing this, so you can turn it inside out if you have to stuff or anything like that. And then you could just glue it, and you press it down to make sure it spreads out and it's to the edge as possible. And then you can go about your business and, do other stuff. Here I am using a charcoal pencil to, this is pretty self-explanatory. And then you cut. And I like using these little fabric squares. I get them from Walmart. They range anywhere from $1 to $1.79. And this allows you to get a lot of different colors. Although with this one, the white, I'm like, I should have gotten a larger, because they have one that's larger for $5. And, white, black colors like that, you'll find yourself using them, pretty often. And I ended up making more pillows than that I ended up using. So here's the same method, just the gluing. You cut out good side to good side, and you make it work. And there is no wasting here. This is where I put all my scrap pieces of foam board, and I pull them out whenever I'm trying to make something work. And they come in handy because you'll see, like, I make a lot of like little brickwork. I'm not in this one, but here I am measuring the flooring. So it's, 3/4 of an inch. And then you're going to make lots of cuts. I think I did them like 3 or 4 inches long. I think I um, I think it's 3 or 4. You'll see. Everyone's floor is going to be different. You kind of make it to what suits the style that you're going for. I was just doing a traditional kind of like wood look floor. I like using foam because I have used popsicle sticks or the big sticks, and when you paint them, they actually do buckle. Whereas with the foam, that does not happen. So you see, before I was making like wood grain looks and to give that realism. Give the fantasy, the wood for fantasy, darling. But and then you just paint it, and then you dry brush to give it a little bit more texture and dimension. You may, give a little weathered look. The sky's the limit. Whatever type of floor you are wanting to make, this is where you will make it happen. So the dry brushing, I always use like an old rag or something, and that's typically what I do. I love to dry brush. It just gives a little extra touch. And then here I wanted to try and make like a neon light sign with her name. So I used what the hell do you call it? Puffy paint. Puppy paint. And here I wanted to get a little bit more fancier with the chair railing. And so with this, I did use the little like skinny sticks, like coffee store sticks or something like that. I suggest doing, and I just left them. I did not cut them shorter or anything. I just left them the length that they were. I suggest doing the bookend portions of them and then placing the middle, because then you'll be able to get your spacing without having to move everything around. Because you'll see when I put in the trim, I did have to kind of move it up. And thankfully, since the glue was still wet, I was able to move it into a place that I wanted. These little clips, I got them from Dollar Tree as well. They come in handy. I use them a lot. So, and then I'm going to pull out good old trusty paint again and get to painting. I'm telling you, sometimes it'll be like, I don't know how this is coming out. And then when the paint goes on, the fantasy comes alive. So here I am. I'm using this glow-in-the-dark red paint. And it says, let dry for an hour, in between coats. So it took a few coats. And here, I'm making it happen, sweetie. And I wanted to make kind of like a little feature wall. I like to do color blocking. This, I simply just laid down some masking tape. I would suggest using artist tape because when you pull it up, it's not as tacky. With masking tape, you do run the risk of peeling up some paper. If you know how to deal with that, it's no big deal. You just take the little color and, add it in. But I just use regular acrylic paint, and here I am taking it off. You have to move very slowly. And I just, for the colors I was into, if you've ever taken like a color theory class, we've all had to do the color wheel, just the progression, the gradient. And here I have some cardstock of, what gives the mirror illusion. And I'm going ahead and trying to make I did make a mirror for Miss Ruby, so when she's getting in her fashions, she could check herself out with the outfit of the day. They take pictures. And you'll see I started painting it. At that time, I only had like a rose gold color, and that color gold, while I love it, it did not really match the color story of the room. So I went to the store that night, and you'll see the change in the color. I was able to get more of a yellow gold color, which I think matches more because especially in her Ruby's pants, she has gold in those pants. So now I got to make a side table. Here we are with more foam board. Use a stencil. I did 4 of them. You put them together, and then you use a little trim of the foam board. Rip the paper off so it allows it to bend without breaking. And then you just use the hot glue gun and glue it around. And you'll see I used cardstock to kind of create like the illusion of drawers. Here I'm just using dowels, and wire cutters are what I find easiest to cut the dowels. And you'll see I left them about 3 inches. Yeah, 3 inches. And then at the ends where you cut them, go ahead and slide them on some sandpaper so you kind of flatten them down and don't make them look as crunchy. And then here I just used a shish kebab, a skewer. A skewer, and be careful because I did poke through, but once you painted it, it doesn't matter. And here I am. I went ahead, I had to pull out all the cookbooks because I glued down a bunch of cardstock for the wallpaper, and just to kind of make them more seamless, I needed a lot of weight on there to make sure it was going to dry properly. And here I decided I needed to make some wall art. So I was inspired to do like a rainbow shape. Something that the, what do you call it? My mind. Come on, my mind. The neon light. The neon light. Something for the neon light to sit on. And again, I'm using the same colors that I used in the color blocking wall, because it reflects the colors that are found in Ruby's Ensemble's Darling. So I liked it. It also kind of reminded me of a jukebox. Like a jukebox all lit up and stuff. But yeah, here you're just going to use the hot glue gun and then put it in the rainbow shape. And then once the hot glue dries, it will go ahead and hold that shape. And I just painted like the sides and then the strips that were going to be fully seen. Also, I wanted to add some succulents. Miniature succulents were so hard to find. I found these at Michael's. And I had some roses that I randomly found on clearance because I grab stuff on clearance because I'm like, I might use this, especially miniature flowers that are in doll scale. So here we go. The room reveal. And bam. Here we are. It's all put together. See, if I would have made more pillows, it would have been hard to get all that in there. The little table, and I just, I love how this came out. I'm really happy with it. I loved using the garment rack. Rainbow High dolls, they're not like tall, but they're bigger than Barbie. So the scale could be hard to work with. I made this little planter out of a toilet tissue roll, and I put hot glue for texture. And this buffalo check fabric that I found is perfect because it's like what she has wrapped around her waist as the flannel button up. But I just cut a strip off of it because it was too thick once it was put together. That's one thing, I want to say, I don't know everything that I'm doing, but a lot of it is trial and error. And you just try it and, you see what works, you see what needs to be adjusted, and you change it, and, you just go from there. It's really fun just to create. These things kind of just come in my head, and then I make a list of how I need to execute it, and tutorials are your friend. And I think once you start making things, you're just going to get a bank knowledge in your head of what to do when you're creating. So here Miss Ruby is checking out her shoes in her mirror, and I'm just trying to, oh, hey Ruby. She's giving you a little shimmy and a shake. And I do pin down the fabrics because, once you start adding things to them, like if you double up on the fabrics, they will stick out a lot more than you want. This is great for pictures. If you want to do play, you're really creating just a little set and a little world. In my head, I think that this is like what her room would look like when she leaves Rainbow High and goes back for, like when she goes home for winter break and stuff like that. Oh, hey, she's giving us a cheer. Rainbow High, Rainbow High. Flip that hair, flip that hair. And here she is with her hat look. Um, I really hope that I don't know if they're going to re-release these. Oh, you see it fell in the back. I forgot to say I put it up there with, with masking tape, just so I could reuse this wall for backgrounds and stuff like that. But, Rainbow High is limited in articulation, and I hope that they re-release these with neck pegs or something in the future. And that paint that I use is glow in the dark. So I'm going to show you what it looked like at, goodness, in the dark. I had to put a little bit of light in the background so you could see it, because when it was pitch black, you just really could not see. So, it glows. It is what it is. That stuff never really truly shows to potential. And that's it. Thank you for joining me. And go ahead and leave me a little like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.